And what is going on, everybody? Hope everybody is enjoying their day so far. And we got a big show for you today. We're going to be going over the Super Bowl 60, give our official preview and predictions for the upcoming game on Sunday night. And we're also going to be giving you some of our picks for the NFL honors. We do have the NFL honors tonight. I know that the red carpet has just kicked off, and we will have it in just over 2 hours now. The NFL Honors is at 8 p.m. Central Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Time over there in Santa Clara. We had the Pro Bowl games earlier this week. We had high-powered action in that game. A lot of big plays, but we were going to be giving you our official preview and picks. We'll also give you some betting. I'm not going to say really tips, but I'll give you what I would personally bet for Sunday's game. And then we will get to more of the NFL honors. We'll get to how we pretty much got here at this playoff run. We'll kind of give you a little bit of a recap all the way back to the wild card round and all the way to what has really become a really good playoff season so far for the NFL. So let's go ahead and dive into the Super Bowl 60 official preview. We'll give you a little bit of a preview, then we'll get into how the playoffs shaked out, and then we will give our official pick in between, and then we will finish off today's show with giving you our official picks for this upcoming NFL honors, which I mentioned at the top of the show is just 2 hours away from getting underway. So if you have been living under a rock, it is the Seattle Seahawks and New England Patriots. Seahawks coming here at 14-3, the Patriots 14-3 as well. So identical records for both of these squads. Looking at the matchup predictor, according to ESPN Analytics, the Seahawks are a projected favorite to win Super Bowl 60 out there in Santa Clara. 60.7% to the Seattle Seahawks, 39.3% to the New England Patriots. The Patriots pretty much been like the underdog story of this season. Like they were 4-12 last year. They had a top 5 pick in this year's draft. They ended up drafting Will Campbell, the left tackle out of LSU, ended up working quite nicely for them. And the Patriots pretty much had a complete rebuild. They had a new head coach with Mike Vrabel coming into year number 1. And they had some star wide receivers really step up, like Stephon Diggs coming from the Houston Texans, Kayshon Boutte. Another fantastic season. He's still a young and incoming wide receiver for the Patriots. So it's just some key storylines on the Patriots. We'll get into more of the storylines for both sides in just a couple of moments. But it's kind of interesting just to see that the Seattle Seahawks are projected based on this matchup predictor to win this game. And looking at all of the game odds, this is on DraftKings. I know that they're several sports books out there, whether you use it. DraftKings is the main one that I use. But the Seahawks are projected 3.5-point favorite right now. The under is set at 46.5. So if you bet the Seahawks to win, say you take it at the spread, 3.5, it's minus 110. Money line for the Seahawks is minus 230. The Patriots, you can get plus odds for New England at plus 190. Looks like it's kind of changing. I guess this is ESPN's odds. Looks like DraftKings odds is 4.5. The over-under right now is 45.5. So honestly, I will give you my prediction. But if I were to pick the spread, I would be going with the Patriots plus 4.5. I just think that this is going to be a field goal game. It's going to be coming down to the wire, kind of similar to the last Super Bowl meeting between both of these teams. Coming down to a goal line stand. Malcolm Butler getting that game-winning interception late in that game to really seal the deal for the New England Patriots. So I'm hoping that we get another fantastic game between both of these teams. I mean, they're pretty evenly matched. Two really talented defenses. The offense have also been playing well down the stretch. I mean, look at the quarterbacks. So you got Sam Darnold on one side, and then you have Drake May, who is up for MVP in tonight's award show. But if I were to bet the spread, I'll have to, think about this for a little bit, just based on my score prediction. I think that I am hovering around the over. I always like to bet the over. I know that both of these defenses have been playing pretty solid, but I think that he gets to like 47, 48, something around there. Wouldn't surprise me at all if it gets over 50, because like I mentioned, both of these offenses have really been firing on all cylinders. And look at the season leaders for both these teams. Obviously, Sam Darnold is the pass yard leader for the Seahawks. He has 14 interceptions, 25 touchdowns, just a little over 4,000 passing yards. So really a phenomenal season for Sam Darnold, coming over from the Minnesota Vikings, leading Minnesota to a 14-win season. Pretty much similar situation that he had in Seattle. Like Seattle wasn't even one of the favorites to win the NFC West heading into the season. It felt like a two-horse race, at least in the preseason, and what it felt like between the LA Rams and the San Francisco 49ers. But Sam Darnold, you got to give credit to him. He has really revived his career after really struggling with the New York Jets. And then he had a brief stint with the Carolina Panthers. But really outside of that, back-to-back years that he's putting up with Minnesota and Seattle. So really good revival of his career that Sam Darnold has had for the past couple of years. I mean, you saw his talent at USC, especially in his last season, leading to the Trojans to a Rose Bowl victory over Penn State. But on the other side, Drake May is the leading passing yard, 31 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 4,394 passing yards in his second year with this offense. And Drake May has been phenomenal. Like I mentioned, you have really, the wide receivers have really stepped up. Stephon Diggs, Kayshon Boutte have really been the wide receiver 1 and 2. I know that Mac Hollins has also made some big plays and catches down the stretch here, especially in this playoff run for the Patriots. Look at the rush yard leader. Kenneth Walker is the leader for the Seahawks, 5 rushing touchdowns. He had 221 carries on the season, just a little over 1,027 rushing yards. I know that a lot of people who play fantasy football are going to say that Kenneth Walker didn't have that great of a season. It was pretty much a split backfield the whole entire season between him and Zach Charbonnet. You did get that injury to Zach Charbonnet. So it has been Kenneth Walker, and Kenneth Walker coming off one of his best performances of the season in the NFC Championship game against Los Angeles Rams. He did add a couple of touchdowns to really seal the deal for that team. On the other side, Travion Henderson, the rookie, is leading the way for the Patriots. 9 rushing touchdowns, 180 carries, 911 rushing yards. I know that he was one of the favorites to win the Offensive Rookie of the Year. Travion Henderson, I know that once again in fantasy terms, I hate to just bring up fantasy football, but that's just how I look at it sometimes. Travion Henderson had a very slow start to the season. It was looking like that Ramondre Stevenson was just going to pretty much be the RB1 the whole season. Then Travion Henderson, it's kind of been a split backfield. Travion Henderson and Ramondre Stevenson has been able to get their fair share of both rushing yards as well as receiving yards on the day. But Travion Henderson, really good season for him overall. Like I mentioned, pretty slow start to his rookie season. But I believe heading into next season, Travion Henderson is really going to be a fantastic running back the rest of the way. Looking at the wide receivers leading the way, Jackson Smith and Jigba, what a season that he's been having. 119 receptions, 10 receiving touchdowns, and then to go along with 1,793 receiving yards. And JSN has definitely been the wide receiver 1, really taken over the wide receiver 1. I know that you go back to last season when you had DK Metcalf in JSN, but without DK Metcalf, you have really seen the emergence of JSN become one of the more elite wide receivers in the league itself. And with Cooper Kupp being in the fold, that hasn't really changed the fact that JSN is one of the top 5 wide receivers in the league. On the other side, like I mentioned, Stephon Diggs leading the way for the Patriots, 85 receptions on the season, 4 receiving touchdowns, and a little over 1,000 receiving yards. So he is coming off of an injury. He did tear his ACL late in the season for the Texans. Looks like he has rebounded nicely from that season-ending injury. Last season when he was with Houston, he got picked up by the Patriots, and that Drake May to Stephon Diggs connection has really been outstanding. I know that everybody wants to talk about these offenses, but these defenses, let's go ahead and get to some of these stats. Williams, the defensive end for the Seattle Seahawks, is leading the way with 7 tackles. Landry, the third, the linebacker for the Patriots at 8.5. And then you see Jones and Spillane both with 126 and 97. So look at the standings. The Seahawks and the Patriots did ultimately win their respective divisions. Seattle, you see, like the NFC West, it was one of the best divisions and all in the NFL this season. You have Seattle with 14-3, the Rams with 12-5, San Francisco 12-5. Those were all playoff teams. Obviously, you did have the Arizona Cardinals there at the bottom. We'll see if Arizona could get back into the fold here, depending on what they do here with their top 5 pick and where they go next with their quarterback situation. And then you go to the AFC East. I think that a lot of people just think that it was pretty clear cut and dry that the Buffalo Bills were just going to run away with this division. But it was actually the Patriots, one of the more surprising stories, 14-3. They ended up finishing first. Buffalo finishing second with 12-5 record. Miami finished with 7-10, and then the New York Jets right there at the bottom at 3-14. So looking at the overall injury report, the Seahawks do have a couple of key names here. Nick Emanuori, the safety for the Seahawks, is questionable with an ankle. I expect all these guys who were listed as questionable to really play. I mean, come on, it's the Super Bowl. I don't even care what injury you have. I think that a lot of these players want to play in a big-time atmosphere, in a big-time game like this. Charles Cross also on the injury report, the offensive tackle. He is questionable with a foot injury. Josh Jones, the guard, is questionable as well with an ankle injury. And then you do have Sam Darnold. If you remember going back to last week's game, he was on the injury report on Thursday, I believe, and then heading into the game, he was a game-time decision with an oblique injury. And then you saw Sam Darnold really have a phenomenal start. So Sam Darnold with an oblique injury, I expect him to play. Like I mentioned, it's a Super Bowl. I mean, come on, most of these guys will be playing. And then Chad Surratt, the linebacker for the Seahawks, questionable as well with an ankle injury. So that's just some key injuries that we do have heading into Sunday night's game for the Seahawks. Now let's go on to the other side. You do have two guys on the injured reserve, so you will not see them in action. You do have Terrell Jennings, the running back, and Eric Gregory, both of those on the injured reserve. Like I mentioned, Jennings with a hamstring injury, Gregory with a knee injury. And then you do have some players listed as questionable. Two of their top defensive players are listed as questionable. Harold Landry III with a knee injury, Robert Spillane, the linebacker for the Pats, with an ankle injury. And then you do have Thayer Munford Jr., one of their top offensive tackles, is questionable with a knee injury. And looking at the last 5 games, you have seen how both of these teams have really been similar and dominant. Looking all the way back to January 25th, which was just a couple of weeks ago, the Seahawks took down the Rams in the NFC Championship game. The Patriots took down the Denver Broncos in what became a blizzard in the second half by a score of 10-7. And then the Seahawks and the Patriots. The Seahawks did have a bye. The Patriots did not have a bye on the AFC side. The Broncos were the number 1 overall seed. The Patriots were the number 2 seed in that bracket. But San Francisco and the Seahawks got together in the divisional round, and the Seahawks curb stomped them 41-6. Patriots has really been their defense in this playoff run. The Texans beat them 20-16. Like I mentioned, the Seahawks were on the bye, while the Patriots had to face off against Los Angeles Chargers, beat them 16-3 in the wild card round. And then going back to their last regular season games, you saw the 49ers get taken down once again by the Seahawks 13-3. And then they beat Carolina 27-10. And then the Rams 38-37 in overtime. And then for the Patriots, their last 2 regular season games against the Dolphins, I mean, they curb stomp pretty much the bottom feeders of the AFC East, both the Dolphins 38-10, and then the Jets 42-10. So that is just some of the key headlines heading into this. Going back to the betting slate, if I were to be betting on this game, I would be going with Patriots plus 4.5. And I'm going to go with the over 45.5. To be honest with you, if you do want to sprinkle just a little bit of a money on the Patriots side, if you can ever get plus money, you could definitely do that at plus 190. And for guys to potentially score a touchdown, I obviously think you just got to go with the top pretty much scores. I mean, Kenneth Walker could definitely be a safe bet. Same with Jackson Smith and Jigba. And then for the Patriots, could it be a guy like Stephon Diggs or Kayshon Boutte finding the end zone? Or will it be one of the running backs? Will it be Travion Henderson or Ramondre Stevenson? So you could go with either that. But to be honest with you, I would go with like the passing touchdowns for either or quarterback. I think that whoever wins this game, if it's at like 1.5, say, or even if it's at 2.5, I definitely think that these two quarterbacks could get over those 2 passing touchdowns, or even 3 passing touchdowns as well. But if I were to do a touchdown score on anybody on the Seahawks, I would go with Kenneth Walker and Jackson Smith-Njigba. There's always going to be that one guy that has probably not really had too many touchdowns that's always going to score a touchdown. It always happens in a game like this. So you could go a little crazy, maybe go like a first touchdown scorer. Go with like Bobo, the tight end of the Seahawks. I know that he got one of his first touchdowns on the season in last time that we saw the Seahawks face off against the Rams in the NFC Championship. So that's just what I would personally bet, in my opinion. Now let's go on to how we pretty much got here in the playoffs. Let me go ahead and pull up the official playoff bracket. And then we will pretty much discuss, like I mentioned, how we got here. And then I will make my official picks and score prediction for this upcoming Super Bowl 60 that will happen on Sunday night. And then we will cap it off with the NFL honors. So let's go ahead and pull up the official playoff bracket. We pretty much been doing this every single week, all the way from the wild card round to the Super Bowl. And we've only got one game wrong, and that was the Jaguars and the Bills game in the wild card. Other than that, we've pretty much been perfect this whole entire playoff run. But you go all the way back to the wild card, pretty much had chalk for the most part. You did have a lot of like 5 and 6 seeds with the Rams taking down the Panthers. You had the Texans taking down the Steelers in the AFC side. Then you had the 2 6 seeds advancing with the Buffalo Bills. One of the best games in the wild card round against the Jags, and the 49ers pulling off the defensive game against the Philadelphia Eagles. Then you had another defensive game, the Patriots and the Chargers. It felt like, though, the Chargers were really never in that game. The Patriots defense really suffocated that offense led by Justin Herbert. And then you go to the other 2 games. The Bears pulled off another miracle against the Green Bay Packers. If you remember that Caleb Williams really Houdini play with just a little over 15 seconds left in that game. The game did go into overtime, and the Bears did need a late field goal to win that game. For the Rams and the Panthers, that was a high-scoring shootout. In the Rams, Matthew Stafford found one of their key tight ends in the end zone to move on. So then you had the divisional round. You had the 49ers and the Seahawks. Like we mentioned, the Seahawks absolutely curb stomped the San Francisco 49ers in the divisional round. Seahawks putting up over 40 points in that game. That defense really flexing their muscle as Christian McCaffrey in the crew for San Francisco could not really get anything going in that game. The Rams and the Bears game, another phenomenal game. This was another overtime game, if I believe. This actually took another field goal to win. Harrison Mevis late in overtime. Actually, no, I think I'm getting my games mixed up. Maybe that Houdini play was against the Rams and not the Packers. But other than that, the Rams ended up moving on. Patriots and the Texans. Patriots. This was, if you remember this game, this was a lot of turnovers, especially on the Texans side. C.J. Stroud had like 4 interceptions in this game. Patriots defense have definitely been really a tall task to really play against in this postseason. Then you had the Broncos beat the Bills. This was another overtime game. Will Lutz ended up getting a late game field goal. Did have an injury to Bo Nix, which really set back the Broncos. And then you go to the conference championship, which just happened 2 weeks ago between the Rams and the Seahawks. What a phenomenal game that this was. Looks like the Seahawks were just going to pull away. The Rams were ultimately able to punch back before the half. And then you had a back and forth second half, and the Seahawks were able to pull out a win in the 12th man. And once again, their defense was really the tail of the tape as they really had a key stop. Matthew Stafford in that offense had a 1st and goal, and they were able to make a goal line stand to really pull away. You did have Rashid Shaheed getting that big catch. Kenneth Walker had a big game against the Rams. JSN also had a big game as well. So that's definitely been the key players for the Seahawks offense so far this postseason. And then, like I mentioned, the blizzard game between the Patriots and the Broncos. Patriots ultimately pulling this one out 10-7. All the points game pretty much in the first half. Both these teams decided to kick field goals in like blustery conditions and blizzard conditions as well. You saw a lot of missed field goals, both with the Broncos and the Patriots. And then you just saw whenever it got to the 4th quarter, the Patriots are going to the snow and to the wind, that they were just going to run the football, punt the ball away. The Broncos did have an opportunity to tie the game, but Will Lutz missed the field goal. Then you had the Patriots pretty much just controlling the clock, and the Broncos did have one final opportunity, and Jarrett Stidham ended up throwing a pick right to Christian Gonzalez, and the Patriots were able to run out the clock. They had a phenomenal play on third down with Drake May running it for a first down, and the Patriots moved back to the Super Bowl place that they're quite familiar with. So that's what we're really set up here. The number 1 seed on the NFC side, the Seattle Seahawks, and the number 2 seed on the AFC side, the New England Patriots. Like I mentioned last time that we saw both of these teams in the Super Bowl, was that crazy game. I believe this game was in Arizona, if I remember correctly. But this was whenever Russell Wilson and Tom Brady were the 2 quarterbacks. And then you had that goal line interception by Malcolm Butler, and the Patriots winning that game 28-24. So I think that's going to be very similar. I don't think that the Seahawks or the Patriots are going to blow anybody out, but these have definitely been the top 2 defenses, at least in the postseason. Looking at the Seahawks, their first game, dominant performance against the 49ers, only letting up 6 points. I know they've had some trouble with the Los Angeles Rams, but that Rams offense has just been cooking this whole entire season. I mean, Matthew Stafford is an MVP favorite for a reason, along with Drake May. On the Patriots defense, I mean, look through their whole 3 games in this playoff run. You could say whatever you want about the Denver Broncos not having a Bo Nix, but still shutting down a really talented Broncos offense that had Cortland Sutton, R.J. Harvey, a talented rookie running back out of UCF. Then the Texans, they forced a lot of turnovers to really flip that game on its head. And the same for the Chargers. The Chargers offense have a lot of talent, led by Justin Herbert, Ladd McConkey, Keenan Allen, and many others. The Chargers didn't really had no answers. And every game that the Patriots have been in, it's been winter weather conditions. I know the Chargers game didn't have any snow, but the Texans had to deal with snow. The Broncos had to deal with snow. Good thing, I think that they are pretty happy that they don't have to deal with the snow all the way out there in California. So they won't have to deal with any winter weather conditions. We'll see if there's any weather projected. I don't think that's going to really affect both of these teams. But this is going to be I think that these are 2 evenly matched teams. Like you mentioned, their regular season record, both 14 wins and only 3 losses. And the Seahawks, I know that Clint Kubiak is going to be moving on to be the head coach for the Raiders, but what a job that he has done only in 1 season with the Seattle Seahawks team. Like I mentioned, just you didn't really know what to expect with this offense, especially with what they were going to do with the quarterback position with Sam Darnold coming over from Minnesota to Seattle. And then with DK Metcalf leaving this offense, you didn't know if Jackson Smith-Njigba was going to take that leap forward and really become one of the elites. And they answered all those questions pretty quickly. And the defense has been the best defense in all the league so far. And the Patriots, what a really turnaround and storyline for them. I mean, it took a couple of years for them to really complete this rebuild, but they got the right head coach in place with Mike Vrabel. Tennessee Titans probably should have never fired the man in the first place, but Patriots are lucky enough to have a guy like Mike Vrabel really taking over. And then really the play of Drake May this whole entire season has really put this Patriots offense to another level. In addition to Stephon Diggs, I think that really the growth and maturity that you are seeing of Kayshon Boutte, and then the 2 running backs. I mean, Ramondre Stevenson and Travion Henderson has been 2 complimentary running backs. And this defense was not great. It was not a great defense last year. They have really flipped the story. Like K'Lavon Chaisson is really having a revival of his career as well on the defensive side. But the Patriots' defensive line and secondary led by Christian Gonzalez has really been the storyline for the Patriots this season. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and get to our official prediction, the Seahawks and the Patriots. I put a short out earlier this week, and a lot of people had the Patriots win this game. They are the underdog heading into this one, but the way that this Seahawks defense has been playing, the offense especially in this playoff run, I am going to go the Seattle Seahawks. And they're going to have, I'm not sure they're going to have like that home field environment. They obviously have played in this stadium before, but I don't think that necessarily matters in this game. I think it will be a pretty tight, lower scoring game. I think that both teams will get into the 20s. I'm going to go with the Seattle Seahawks winning this game 24-21 in this game. I'm going to go with the Seattle Seahawks ultimately claiming the Super Bowl 60, and guys like Sam Darnold is going to get his Super Bowl ring. So I will have the Seattle Seahawks taking down the New England Patriots by a score of 24-21. So I think that the defense they're going to get their fair share. I would not be surprised if we see a couple of turnovers on both sides. That's not just saying that both quarterbacks have been bad, but I just think that these defenses have really been solid, especially in this postseason run. So I will be going with the Seattle Seahawks taking down the Patriots in Super Bowl 60. But let me know what you think is going to win the game on Sunday. Let me also know your score predictions down in the comments. And we are not done yet here on the show. That is it for our official Super Bowl preview and predictions. A little bit of betting on the side there in between. Let's go ahead and dive into what is going to be happening on tonight. We do have the NFL honors kicking off. We did have one award already announced, the Pepsi Offensive Rookie of the Year to Saints rookie quarterback Tyler Shuck. We will see if Shuck will also take the AP honors. The Pepsi rookie was fan awarded, so we will see what the AP voters will be voting on. But since we do have a little over an hour before the show does ultimately kick off, let's go ahead and give our official predictions of who I think that's going to take the MVP, the Defensive Player of the Year, and so on and so forth. So what I pulled up here, we do have NFL.com. Let's go ahead and look at the finalists for all of the awards and nominees, and I will give my official pick for who I think will ultimately claim and take home each award for tonight's show. Let's start off with the big award, the AP Most Valuable Player. So your nominees, Josh Allen, quarterback for the Buffalo Bills; Trevor Lawrence, quarterback for the Jacksonville Jaguars; Drake May, the quarterback for the New England Patriots. You do have only one running back this year. I think last year had multiple guys like Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley was on that list, but you do see CMC, the running back for the 49ers, and then Matthew Stafford, Los Angeles Rams for the quarterback. So I think that this, to be honest with you, nothing against like Trevor Lawrence, Josh Allen, and Christian McCaffrey. It just feels like all season it has been a two-horse race between Drake May and Matthew Stafford. Trevor Lawrence, if he played like he did the second half of the season, I could definitely see it, but he did have a slow start. Like the whole entire Jaguars team had a slow start. I'm going to go with Drake May, New England Patriots. To be honest with you, I would not be shocked at all if they do give it to Matthew Stafford. I mean, he's 37 years old. He definitely has earned it. He has had a Hall of Fame career. But Drake May overall this season, I'm going to go with him. Matthew Stafford, I mean, he's got guys like Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams. Drake, I'm not saying that, compared to Drake May, has guys like Stephon Diggs and Kayshon Boutte. I'm not saying that those are two bad wide receivers, but overall, I think that Drake May is going to come away with the MVP. You could go with Matthew Stafford. Would not shock me at all if they do end up awarding Stafford. But if I had to if I had to vote, I would give it to Drake May. Now let's go on to the AP Defensive Player of the Year. Your nominees: Will Anderson Jr., the defensive end for the Texans; Nick Bonito, the Denver Broncos linebacker; Myles Garrett, the defensive end for the Cleveland Browns; Aiden Hutchinson, the defensive end for the Detroit Lions; and then Micah Parsons, who was traded before the season got started from the Cowboys to the Packers, is rounding out this list. I think I'm honestly going to have to give it to Myles Garrett. He did break really one of the best records in the NFL that was pretty much unbreakable for, it feels like, the past couple of years. But Myles Garrett, he's been having a monster season with the Browns. And the Browns, overall, this season was kind of a lackluster season for the Browns this season. I know that guys like Will Anderson has really stepped up. The Texans have been a really solid defense. Same with Nick Bonito, the linebacker for the Broncos, and Aiden Hutchinson and Micah Parsons. You could give it that, but I am going to have to go with Myles Garrett. I mean, what a monster season that Garrett had on the Browns defense this year. So that is my pick for the Defensive Player of the Year. Now let's go on to Offensive Player of the Year. You have Drake May, New England Patriots quarterback; Christian McCaffrey, San Francisco 49ers running back; Puka Nacua, the wide receiver of the Rams; Bijan Robinson, the Falcons running back; and then Jackson Smith-Njigba, the Seattle Seahawks wide receiver. Now, I definitely think that you could go with Drake May, but I'm going to go with Jackson Smith-Njigba or Puka Nacua in this case. I'm just going to go with Puka Nacua. I know that I keep bringing up fantasy football, but my gosh, Puka Nacua like absolutely destroyed fantasy football this season. He had a phenomenal season. You could go Drake May, but I just want to change it up. I'm going to go for wide receiver. I would like go with either Puka Nacua or JSN. They dominated both the receiving yardage category as well as receiving touchdowns. I'm going to go Puka Nacua. He has been a monster for this Rams offense. So give me Nacua taking home the Offensive Player of the Year award. Now let's go on to the Offensive Rookie of the Year. Like I mentioned earlier, just a couple of minutes ago, we did have the Pepsi Offensive Rookie of the Year announced. So Tyler Shuck ended up taking that. That was a fan vote. Now we have Jackson Dart, the Giants quarterback. You have Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver of the Bucks. Trayvon Henderson, running back of the Pats. Ted McMillan, wide receiver of the Panthers. And then quarterback of the Saints, Tyler Shuck, rounding out the nominees. Now, if Emeka Egbuka probably was like, if you said like who was going to be the Rookie of the Year in the first half of the season, it would have been Emeka Egbuka, not even close. But Egbuka he didn't really fall off. But he just didn't have that great of a second half as some of these other guys have. You could say the same with Jackson Dart. He did have a couple of injuries in between, but Jackson Dart was one of the best rookie quarterbacks in this class. You could say the same with Tyler Shuck. You had Spencer Rattler start the first 6 or 7 games for the Saints, and then Shuck comes in, and they completely flipped around their season. They only had one win at the time before Tyler Shuck was the starter. And what a complete turnaround it was for the Saints. I definitely think the Saints do have a bright future. They can have another solid draft class for this year's 2026 draft. Same with Trayvon Henderson. I think that's another guy that had like a slow start to the season. Kind of like a complete opposite of Emeka Egbuka. Like Trayvon Henderson had a slow start, and then he kind of really figured it out in the second half. And then Ted McMillan, he really had some big performances for this Panthers offense. It was a key part getting the Panthers to the playoffs. But I think that it's either going to be Jackson Dart or Tyler Shuck. It is going to be the two quarterbacks. I just think that all these awards are pretty much quarterback driven. I'm going to go with Tyler Shuck of the Saints. I just think that Jackson Dart, to me, is the best offensive rookie of the year. But looking at the overall, what Tyler Shuck was able to do once he was the starting quarterback, I'm going to give the nod to Tyler Shuck winning the AP Offensive Rookie of the Year in tonight's show. Now let's continue on with the Defensive Rookie of the Year. You do have Abdul Carter, the linebacker of the Giants, Nick Emanuori, the defensive back for the Seahawks. You do have James Pierce Jr., Falcons defensive end Carson Schweisner. Sorry if I'm incorrect on that. The Browns linebacker and Xavier Watts, the Falcons safety. I mean, it feels like it's got to be Emanuori or Carson, the Browns linebacker. If I were to be picking this, I'm going to go with Emanuori. He has been a big, big part of that Seahawks defense, becoming the number one defense overall for this 2025 season. I think that you could go with the Browns linebacker too. He's had a monster rookie season as well. Some of the other guys as well, they had their fair share, like Carter, Pierce, and Watts. But I just think that Nick Emanuori overall, he has really, pretty much revamped this Seahawks secondary. I mean, they were so used to the Legion of Boom. Took a couple of years to really rebuild that, and you're starting to see this really secondary get after this season. So I'm going to go with Nick Emanuori being the Defensive Rookie of the Year. Now let's go on to the AP Comeback Player of the Year. You do have Stephon Diggs, wide receiver of the Patriots, Aiden Hutchinson, the defensive end for the Lions, Trevor Lawrence, the Jags quarterback, Christian McCaffrey, the 49ers running back, Dak Prescott, the Dallas Cowboys quarterback. I think that you can give it to anyone. Stephon Diggs, like I mentioned, coming off of that injury, having a really good season with the Patriots and being one of the key parts for the Patriots being in the Super Bowl. Trevor Lawrence, to me, could definitely be up there. Christian McCaffrey. I mean, I don't know, like Christian McCaffrey, I would say, is a comeback player of the year. It feels like he's really been dominant. I'm going to go with Trevor Lawrence, to be honest with you. I definitely think that this Jaguars team overall, not many people had a lot of high expectations for this team. You had an early draft pick in the 2025 NFL draft. You had a new head coach with Liam Cohen, the offense coordinator coming from the Tampa Bay Bucks, and really turning around this offense. So I think that that's also a big thing in this comeback player of the year. So I'm going to go give it to Trevor Lawrence. Like I mentioned, you can give it to any player I would be fine with. But to me, I'm going to go with Trevor Lawrence. Just the turnaround that this offense and team had and winning a really tough division against the Houston Texans as well. So now let's go on to the AP Coach of the Year, Liam Cohen. Jacksonville Jaguars, phenomenal turnaround, like I mentioned, for the Jags. Same with Ben Johnson, the Chicago Bears. Like, all these guys really did a phenomenal job. One of the, like, you did have two first-year coaches, McDonald still in the early tenure with the Seattle Seahawks, Kyle Shanahan, the San Francisco 49ers, and then Mike Vrabel of the New England Patriots. I'm going to go Mike Vrabel, to be honest with you. I mean, he took a 4-win team. Now they're in the Super Bowl. You give, if honestly, you give it to Cohn, Johnson, McDonald, and Vrabel, and not really giving it to Shanahan. I think that we pretty much expected the 49ers to be back in the playoffs as they should. But Ben Johnson did a phenomenal job of that offense, and Caleb Williams definitely had a better season than he did in his first season with Chicago. Mike McDonald really turned around that Seahawks offense and defense. I mean, he's a defensive-minded head coach, and you saw that defense really go to work week in and week out. And then Liam Cohen, like I mentioned, the Jaguars team, not too many high expectations heading into this season, and they pretty much dominated, especially down the stretch. They were one of the hottest teams heading into the playoffs, but they ended up getting upended by the Buffalo Bills. But I'm going to go with Mike Vrabel. What a turnaround it was for the Patriots. I think that Vrabel has done a fantastic job. And only year number 1 at the helm for the Patriots. So the future is definitely bright. And if they get the Super Bowl victory over the Seattle Seahawks, I mean, that would definitely be like one of the quickest turnarounds that we have seen in the NFL in quite some time. So I will give the Coach of the Year honors to Mike Vrabel. Now we go to the AP Assistant Coach of the Year. You do have a couple of nominees, both defensive coordinator and offensive coordinator, Vic Fangio, the DC for the Eagles, Brian Flores, the Vikings DC, Vance Joseph, the DC for the Broncos, Clint Kubiak, the offense coordinator for the Seahawks, and then Josh McDaniels, the Patriots offense coordinator. I'm going to give it to Clint Kubiak of the Seattle Seahawks offense coordinator. Like I mentioned, I did give him praise earlier in the show, and he's a big part of this Seahawks offense. You know, Jackson Smith-Njigba getting to wide receiver 1 status, especially with the departure of DK Metcalf, Kenneth Walker, and Zach Charbonnet. That has pretty much been your RB1 and RB2. In the addition to Sam Darnold in this offense really becoming a talented offense. Everybody wants to talk about Los Angeles Rams, but the Seahawks offense really paired with that defense has really been the tail of the tape for the Seahawks offense. So I'm going to give it to Clint Kubiak of the Seahawks offense be the assistant coach of the year. So I believe that is it. We do have, we will be finding out the newest Pro Football Hall of Fame class of 2026 that is expected to be announced. Along with the Protector of the Year, we'll have Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year. And then, like I mentioned at the top, we will have the MVP. As a Saints fan, I am definitely hoping for Drew Brees to be in a first ballot Hall of Famer. He definitely deserves it. I mean, he is one of the best quarterbacks that I have seen in my life. I'm forever grateful for Drew Brees taking over the Saints organization. I mean, the Saints overall, as a franchise, have been like one of the worst. Like, they were in the dumps before that 06 season, and then they get Sean Payton and Drew Brees. Complete turnaround. They make it to the playoffs early on. They make it all the way to the NFC Championship game against the Chicago Bears. Ended up winning. Took a couple of years to win the Super Bowl in 2009 against the Indianapolis Colts, and then had a really, like, for a decade straight, a consistent win. I know that they had a couple of years, like 7 to 9 years. Then you did have the Bounty Gate years. But I am definitely hoping that we do see Drew Brees as a first ballot Hall of Famer. I know that we have other key guys as well, like Larry Fitzgerald. So I will definitely be interested to see what guys will be on the list. There are some guys, especially Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft, not on this list as a first ballot Hall of Famer, which is just absurd. I mean, how do you not put like the best coach and then probably one of the best GMs that we've had in the NFL and Robert Kraft? But I'm sure that in due time, both of those guys will earn the honors that they deserve. So I believe that is all of the nominees and awards. I'll definitely be watching this in just over an hour now. I'll be curious to see who wins these awards. I'm just giving my predictions. I'm not an award prediction expert. I'm just going to give my opinions of who I think is going to take it. I'm not going to say like, oh, this guy should have won it and this guy shouldn't. I think that whoever takes the awards tonight are deserving, as they always are. So I'll definitely be watching this in just a little over an hour, but that's going to be it for tonight's show. We went over our official Super Bowl preview and predictions, gave you a little bit of betting of how I would bet on the big game on Sunday. But that's going to be it for our official preview and picks for the NFL honors as well as Super Bowl 60. So hope everybody enjoys watching the award show. If you do decide to tune in, as well as the Super Bowl 60 between the Seattle Seahawks and the New England Patriots. So I appreciate everybody for tuning in to today's show, and I will see you all next time. So long for now, and enjoy the rest of your night.